In the summer of 2025, a single decision from the White House sent shockwaves rippling through the entire North American trade system, catching governments, businesses, and workers off guard. President Trump, invoking national security concerns and accusing foreign producers of unfair pricing, announced a dramatic policy shift. Tariffs on most steel and aluminum imports would be doubled to a staggering 50%. The announcement was met with immediate reactions from both allies and rivals. The move was laser-focused on Canada and Mexico, two of America's closest trading partners, while the UK was notably exempt. This exemption sent a clear message about the administration's priorities and the targeted nature of the policy. By August, the tariffs had ballooned to cover over 400 product categories, ranging from raw materials to finished goods, and affecting a staggering $320 billion in imports. The scale and speed of the expansion left many scrambling to adapt. For Canada, the consequences were swift and severe. Steel and aluminum exports now faced an extra 35% tariff, effectively shutting them out of the U.S. market overnight. Plants slowed production, and some even closed their doors. Decades of seamless cross-border manufacturing, which had made North America a global economic powerhouse, were suddenly thrown into chaos. Supply chains broke down, and the very foundation of North American economic cooperation was shaken. The administration insisted these measures would revive American industry and protect jobs, but for countless businesses and workers on both sides of the border, the new reality was one of confusion, anxiety, and upheaval. As headlines warned of an impending economic crisis, the stage was set for a turbulent period that would ultimately redefine the continent's economic landscape and test the resilience of its people. Financial markets reacted instantly and harshly to the tariff escalation. The S&P 500 dropped nearly 1% in a day, as investors feared a recession triggered by soaring metal costs. Steel prices spiked. Nucor raised hot-rolled coil prices by $150 per ton in 2 weeks, sending shockwaves through industries from autos to construction. Companies built on stable material costs saw profits evaporate overnight. The tariffs created a two-tiered system. U.S. producers thrived behind tariff walls, while firms reliant on Canadian steel faced impossible costs or supply shortages. The once efficient cross-border supply chain ground to a halt, with components now subject to complex duties at every stage. Businesses on both sides of the border scrambled to adapt, questioning the viability of their operations. The era of predictable, integrated North American manufacturing was over. The tariffs, intended to protect American manufacturing, quickly backfired in unexpected ways. Instead of shielding domestic industries, they ended up hurting the very sectors they were meant to support, creating a ripple effect across the economy. The U.S. auto sector, especially giants like Ford and GM, faced skyrocketing costs, up to $900 more per F-150 truck. These added expenses forced automakers to make tough decisions, from cutting back on production to delaying new investments. Ford warned Congress the tariffs could cost $2.5 billion annually, threatening jobs and investment. Executives voiced concerns about the long-term competitiveness of American manufacturing on the global stage. Production halted at key plants due to steel shortages, leaving workers idle and factories silent. The uncertainty spread anxiety among employees, who worried about their future and the stability of their communities. Car prices rose by $1,500 to $2,000, with some imported models jumping 25%, cooling consumer demand and risking layoffs. Dealerships struggled to move inventory, and buyers hesitated, unsure if prices would climb even higher. Michigan's unemployment rate surged to 5.4%, the highest in the nation, as layoffs rippled through the supply chain. Communities that once thrived on manufacturing faced growing uncertainty and hardship. Energy firms in Texas, reliant on Canadian steel, faced critical shortages as Canadian producers shifted focus abroad. Projects were delayed or canceled, putting additional pressure on local economies and workers. The tariffs, intended as a shield, became a self-inflicted wound for American industry. Instead of fostering growth, they exposed deep weaknesses and left many businesses struggling to adapt. Rather than revitalizing manufacturing, the policy revealed just how vulnerable the U.S. supply chain had become, with bottlenecks and shortages spreading across sectors. The pain was felt from the boardroom to the factory floor, as uncertainty and hardship became the new reality for American industry. Canada responded swiftly and strategically to the tariff crisis, refusing to be caught off guard or left behind. The government, business leaders, and workers came together in a rare show of unity, determined to protect the nation's vital steel industry and the thousands of jobs it supports. Within just 48 hours, Prime Minister Mark Carney stood before the nation to announce a bold $1 billion plan to modernize Canadian steel. The focus was clear. Invest in the future by embracing green technologies such as state-of-the-art electric arc furnaces and innovative hydrogen-based processes. This move not only aimed to keep Canadian steel competitive, but also to position the country as a global leader in sustainable manufacturing. At the same time, Ottawa took decisive action to protect the domestic market. The government imposed strict quotas and a 25% duty on Chinese steel imports, a measure designed to prevent market dumping and ensure Canadian producers could compete on a level playing field. Recognizing the risks of over-reliance on the U.S., the government pivoted quickly, launching an aggressive campaign to court new buyers in the European Union, Japan, and India. Trade delegations were dispatched, and new partnerships began to take shape. By May, the results were clear. U.S.-bound steel exports dropped from 75% to 68%, while exports to other international markets surged, diversifying Canada's customer base and reducing risk. Canadian firms secured multi-year contracts with overseas buyers, locking in stable revenue streams and reducing their exposure to unpredictable U.S. trade policies. At home, provinces took action too, prioritizing Canadian steel for public infrastructure projects. This created robust, reliable domestic demand and kept factories humming across the country. Canada's strategy turned a looming crisis into a powerful opportunity, laying the foundation for a cleaner, more resilient steel industry that could thrive in a changing world. In the end, the country emerged stronger and more united, with an industry less vulnerable to future U.S. policy shocks and better prepared for the challenges ahead. The tariff war's human cost was felt in every manufacturing town. In Windsor, Ontario, and across the border in Michigan, workers faced layoffs, canceled shifts, and vanished overtime. 500,000 Canadian jobs tied to U.S. exports were suddenly at risk. Local businesses, from diners to parts suppliers, suffered as factory orders dried up. In the U.S., workers lost jobs not to foreign competition, but to disrupted supply chains and material shortages. Families in Hamilton, Ontario, and Buffalo, New York, faced sleepless nights, uncertain if their livelihoods would survive. The trade war was no abstract policy, it was a daily struggle for stability and hope. The true cost was measured in lost jobs and anxious conversations around the dinner table. The crisis sparked a wave of investment, but the US and Canada took very different paths. In the US, tariffs spurred announcements of new plants. Novelis committed $5 billion to Alabama. Century Aluminum expanded in South Carolina, promising thousands of jobs. The administration touted these as proof tariffs worked, accepting short-term pain for long-term industrial revival. Canada, meanwhile, focused on transforming existing infrastructure, investing in green steel and low-carbon technology. The goal to become a premium supplier in a world demanding sustainable products. The US aimed for self-sufficiency through protectionism. Canada sought global competitiveness through innovation. These divergent strategies revealed two visions for the future of North American industry. One looked inward, the other outward, each shaping the continent's economic destiny. As North America battled over steel, U.S. policy in Venezuela triggered a new geopolitical shift. The Trump administration revoked Chevron's license, halting 100,000 barrels per day of Venezuelan oil to U.S. refineries. China quickly filled the vacuum, becoming Venezuela's main oil buyer and financier. By late 2025, 90% of Venezuelan oil exports flowed to China, cementing Beijing's influence in the region. China deployed advanced drilling platforms, restored hundreds of oil wells, and locked in a 20-year production deal. Decades of Chinese loans were repaid in oil, giving Beijing direct control over Venezuela's resources. U.S. sanctions, meant to isolate Caracas, instead handed China a strategic foothold in the Americas. The world's largest oil reserves now fueled China's rise, not America's leverage. The unintended consequence, a new power center in the Western Hemisphere. America's unilateral economic moves accelerated a global power shift. The steel tariffs forced Canada to diversify, reducing its dependence on the US and gaining new leverage. Ottawa's pivot to Europe and Asia made its economy more resilient and less susceptible to US pressure. Meanwhile, US sanctions on Venezuela opened the door for China to dominate the region's energy sector. Instead of reinforcing US dominance, these policies encouraged new economic blocs and rival alliances. China's growing presence in the Americas challenged Washington's traditional sphere of influence. The result, a multipolar world where America's partners and rivals alike found new options. The old order was giving way to a new, unpredictable reality. The events of 2025 revealed the risks of a fractured, interconnected world. The era of stable, globalized supply chains is over. Resilience and diversification are now essential. Tariffs expose the dangers of over-reliance on any single partner, as businesses and workers face sudden upheaval. Canada's agile response, combining defensive trade measures with green investment and export diversification, offered a roadmap for middle powers. The lesson's success lies in adaptability, not isolation. For businesses, this means rethinking supply chains. For governments, balancing domestic needs with global partnerships. The shocks of 2025 will shape strategies and lives for years to come. In today's world, stability can no longer be taken for granted.